The studio lights beamed down as Jamal Carter, one of the country's most outspoken anchors, adjusted his tie. Known for his razor-sharp commentary and refusal to sugarcoat, Jamal had built his career by holding power to account. But tonight was no ordinary broadcast. He wasn't just moderating another debate, he was about to interview President Donald Trump live, an event already dominating social media feeds nationwide. Backstage, his producer leaned in. "Remember, millions are watching. This is your moment, don't hold back." Jamal smirked. He didn't need reminding. The world expected fireworks and he was ready to deliver. As the red light blinked on, Jamal leaned toward the camera, his voice firm yet cutting. "Tonight, we welcome a special guest, President Donald Trump." He paused, then added with a sly laugh, "Let's see if the man known for his speeches can handle a few real questions." The audience chuckled. Across from him, Trump smiled, faintly, choosing silence over reaction. Jamal read that as weakness, not patience, and launched his opening shot. "Mr. President, critics say your words divide more than they unite. Do you even understand the struggles of everyday Americans?" Trump leaned back, unhurried. His silence stretched until even Jamal fidgeted. Then, in a steady voice, Trump replied, "I've met farmers who've lost everything. I've met veterans who can no longer walk but still salute. Don't underestimate what I understand." For the first time, Jamal didn't laugh. The room shifted. This wasn't the verbal brawl he had pictured, it was becoming something else entirely. Jamal pressed on, his wit sharpening. "You talk about farmers and veterans, Mr. President, but what about the single mother juggling 3 jobs? What about communities who feel abandoned?" Trump's gaze locked on him. "I've seen those mothers. I've listened to those communities. You don't laugh at their pain, Jamal. You listen." The anchor laughed, half disbelief, half defiance. "With respect, Mr. President, listening isn't enough. People want action, not speeches, not promises." The moment exploded online. Hashtags trended. Clips went viral. The debate wasn't just in the studio, it's raging across thousands of screens. Trump leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Do you believe action only means passing laws? Sometimes action begins by truly understanding the people you serve. Tell me, Jamal, when was the last time you sat with a homeless veteran without a camera crew?" The question hit harder than Jamal expected. His smile faltered. The audience shifted uneasily. Laughter that once gave him power now felt misplaced, even cruel. For the first time, Jamal sensed he was losing not just control of the interview, but control of himself. He tried to regain footing. "This isn't about me, Mr. President, it's about your leadership." Trump didn't waver. Leadership isn't measured only in policies, it's measured in compassion. "If you laugh at that, Jamal, you're laughing at the very people you say you represent." The words cut deep. Jamal, who had long prided himself on giving voice to the voiceless, suddenly felt exposed under the unforgiving lights. His trademark smirk, once his armor, now seemed hollow. He shifted again. "So you believe compassion solves poverty? That listening creates jobs?" Trump's tone softened. "I believe compassion is where solutions begin. Without it, jobs mean nothing. Policies are just paper." The silence in the room grew heavy. For the first time, the live audience wasn't laughing or clapping. They were listening. Jamal gripped his note cards tighter. This was no longer the ratings-driven clash he planned. It was turning into something raw, unfiltered, and real. "So, you're suggesting I don't understand suffering?" Jamal asked, forcing a grin. Trump shook his head. "I'm saying none of us truly understand until we humble ourselves enough to listen." The cameras zoomed in. Jamal's practiced smirk cracked. His producer hissed in his earpiece, "Stay in control." But instead of striking back, Jamal went quiet. The audience sensed the shift. The energy had changed. Trump leaned closer, speaking almost like a confidant. "I once met a young man in Detroit who worked 2 jobs to keep his little sister in school. He didn't want fame, he didn't want recognition. He just wanted her to have a chance." Leadership, Jamal, isn't always about control. Sometimes it's about connection. Normally, Jamal would poke holes, hunt for flaws, but compassion offered no easy target. He sat back, unsettled. His producer urged again, "Push harder." But Jamal wasn't sure he wanted to. Something in Trump's tone, and rehearsed, almost vulnerable, stirred something unexpected. He tried once more. "People say you divide this country. Do you really believe you can unite it?" Trump didn't hesitate. "Division doesn't come from one man. It comes when we stop seeing each other as human beings." The words lingered. Jamal, sweating under the lights, felt his usual weapon, laughter, slip from his grasp. He remembered how colleagues praised his sharp jabs for bringing ratings. But at what cost? Trump added softly, "You're powerful, Jamal. Millions listen to you. Imagine what happens if you use that power to lift instead of mock." Jamal froze. His instinct was to laugh it off. But another part of him, buried under pride, knew there was truth in those words. He leaned forward, voice lower now. "So you think my career is built on mocking people?" Trump didn't gloat. I think you've built it on boldness, but boldness without empathy can wound the very people you claim to defend. The word stung. For years, Jamal believed his sharpness protected truth. But here, before millions, it felt like a mask. And what about you? Jamal challenged. Many say you speak without empathy. Trump smiled faintly. Then maybe tonight, we're both here to learn something. The studio fell silent. For the first time, Jamal didn't feel like an anchor, or even an adversary. He felt like a man being forced to look inward. During the commercial break, he leaned back, wiping sweat from his forehead. His producer barked, "Get tough. Don't let him win." But Jamal's heart no longer matched the voice in his ear. He thought of his late mother, a nurse who had worked endless shifts. She often told him, "Son, laughter is good, but never use it to hide from people's pain." Trump caught his eye. "Off camera, you okay?" he asked, almost casually. The simple question disarmed Jamal more than any debate ever had. He nodded but couldn't bring himself to answer. When the cameras came back on, Jamal faced the audience again, but something within him had shifted. The man who had built his career on sharp wit was beginning to realize this interview was no longer about Trump, it was about himself. As the second half began, Jamal's voice steadied, less biting than before. "Mr. President," he asked, "if compassion is central to leadership, how do you practice it when critics are everywhere?" Trump's reply was simple: by remembering that critics are people too. Even those who laugh at me have fears, families, and dreams. The audience let out a collective breath. Jamal's chest tightened. He remembered his own critics, the ones who mocked his accent when he was a young black anchor. He had laughed it off on air, but behind the scenes, it had cut him deeply. And now, for the first time, Jamal saw himself guilty of the same crime, using laughter not as healing, but as a weapon. Breaking from his script, he admitted, "When I was a kid, people laughed at me for stuttering. I swore I'd never let anyone make me feel small again. Humor became my armor. But maybe I've been using it to push people away." Asterisk, the studio fell silent. Trump didn't interrupt. He listened, then he nodded gently. "Maybe tonight isn't about politics. Maybe it's about remembering what makes us human." Jamal never imagined bearing his past on live television. But at that moment, it didn't feel like an interview. It felt like a reckoning. Outside the studio, social media exploded. Clips of Jamal's mocking laughter from earlier trended, but so did his unexpected vulnerability. Hashtags lit up. Hashtag the laugh. Hashtag compassion over clash. Hashtag Jamal unmasked. The nation debated, some mocked him for softening. Others praised his honesty. But most were stunned to see two powerful figures stripped down to their humanity. In the control room, the producer panicked. This wasn't the interview they had planned, yet ratings were climbing higher than ever. Jamal, for once, ignored the noise. He wasn't performing. He was searching for something real. Softly, he asked, "Mr. President, what do you say to people who feel invisible?" Trump leaned forward. "I tell them they're not invisible to me, and they shouldn't be invisible to you either. Jamal, you have the power to make them seen." The words landed heavy. Jamal swallowed. For years, he had claimed to champion the voiceless. Yet in chasing headlines, he realized he had sometimes silenced them instead. "Maybe we've both forgotten something," Jamal whispered. "Then maybe tonight," Trump said gently, "we both remember." The audience clapped not wildly, but warmly. Something rare was unfolding. Two men from opposite worlds finding common ground. The show had scheduled audience calls. Jamal hesitated, then gave the signal. A woman's voice filled the studio. "My name is Angela. I'm a single mom. I don't care about politics. I just want someone to tell us we matter." Jamal's throat tightened. Trump spoke first. "Angela, you matter. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Then Jamal, his voice shaking, added, "Angela, I've laughed at pain on this show before. I won't anymore. Thank you for reminding me." Angela sobbed softly. The audience too was moved. After the call, Jamal leaned back. "Mr. President, I think tonight changed me. I thought strength meant tearing others down. Maybe real strength is admitting when you're wrong." Trump nodded. "Real strength is lifting others up even when it costs you pride." The words stung, but they healed too. Jamal realized he wasn't losing face. He was gaining something greater: humanity. The applause that followed wasn't for an anchor or a politician. It was for truth. When the cameras cut, the energy lingered. Backstage, Jamal approached Trump quietly. "I didn't expect this. You caught me off guard." Trump chuckled. "Sometimes the best answers are the ones we don't prepare." Jamal hesitated. "Do you think people will forgive me for laughing?" Trump placed a hand on his shoulder. "They don't need perfection, Jamal. They need honesty. Tonight, you gave them that." For the first time in years, Jamal felt lighter. The mask he had worn for so long was cracking, and it didn't feel like weakness. It felt like freedom. The next morning, headlines covered the exchange. Anchor laughs at Trump but ends in tears. Debate turns into a night of compassion. Jamal Carter humanizes politics. Critics still attacked him. Some said he went soft. Others accused Trump of manipulating the moment. But thousands of ordinary people, farmers, single parents, veterans flooded social media with gratitude. They weren't talking about politics. They were talking about finally feeling seen. And for Jamal, the criticism mattered less than ever. Something had shifted inside. He wasn't chasing applause anymore. He was chasing truth. Days later, he received a handwritten letter. It was from Angela, the single mom who had called in. "You'll never know what it meant to hear both of you say I mattered. For once, I didn't feel invisible. That moment gave me hope to keep fighting." Jamal held the letter for a long time, his eyes blurring with tears. It wasn't ratings or hashtags that defined his work. It was this: a life touched, a heart lifted. Late one night, Jamal replayed the broadcaster. Early laughter, the silence, his confession, Angela's call, and he realized the night wasn't about winning or losing. It was about listening. For years, he had used laughter as armor. Now he understood. True courage was vulnerability. True impact wasn't mocking power, but amplifying humanity. Weeks later, he launched a new segment, The Voices We Miss. Each week, he highlighted ordinary Americans, the janitor, the nurse, the soldier whose stories deserved to be heard. Viewers responded with overwhelming support. Ratings stayed strong, but this time, for something deeper than spectacle. One day, Trump called the newsroom. "Good work, Jamal. Keep listening." Jamal smiled. He had found his calling not as a performer, but as a bridge. Months later, he received another invitation, this time from Angela. She wanted him at her daughter's high school graduation. When he arrived, Angela embraced him. "You'll never know what your words did for us," she said. "My daughter walked across that stage believing her future matters." At the modest ceremony, Jamal's eyes welled with tears. That night in the studio, he thought he was interviewing a president. Instead, he discovered something greater: the power of humility, the strength of compassion, and the truth that laughter at another's pain can never build what listening can. For the first time, Jamal felt at peace. His laughter had once echoed as a weapon. Now, his silence carried something far stronger: